computer, and therefore I cannot check what's going on LinkedIn. So if anyone is here live, I bid you welcome. I'm really happy you're here. And if you watch this, when you watch this as a replay, I bid you welcome too. And I'm very happy that you're actually watching this. I have been checking out on my previous recordings that people do come back and take part. So that makes me happy. Anyway, let's get started right away because this is how it works. I'm going to change so you have more of the presentation, less on me, and then I'm going to do. There we go. Welcome here. I am Stella Scott, and I have now changed my name from Stella Scott astrologer to astro coach because that is really what I do. I'm an astrologer, and I have been a coach and a therapist for 30 years. And I combine those. And that is why I don't sell one-off readings, because I really want to have my expertise in personal development and in dealing with yourself and growing with yourself together with the astrology. It's a phenomenal combination. So today we're going to talk about retrogrades in 2025. I'm a Western tropical astrologer, which means that what we do here is based on the seasons. There are other ways to do astrology. They all work. It's an ancient art that has been developed over different cultures all over the globe. We have a relationship with the cosmos. That's just the way it is. I used a whole house system, which means that there is one sign per house. There are other systems. They work too. I started out in another one, in Placidus. But there is something about the consistency, the stability, and the patterns of nature that is so precise and doesn't work in random ways. It's always a pattern that is very what is that called? Symmetric. It's a very symmetric way of moving around. When you look at how the planets move and everything, it's completely amazing. So that's one of the reasons where I moved over to the whole house system. And I use a mix of ancient and modern techniques, which means that the modern planets are an important part of what I do. And I also work with asteroids and dwarf planets. So let's move on. I have already made 2 presentations about 2025. One is the Pivotal 2025. You can reach us through stellascott.com/2025/LinkedIn. No, not slash, dash LinkedIn. -LI. Better be precise here. And then last week I was talking about Pluto in 2025 and beyond, and that is stellascott.com/Pluto 2025 all in one. I absolutely suggest that you watch them too. I will refer a little back to them, but that will give you a more substance and understanding of what I will talk about today. So there is an agenda, and first we will just have a short look into what is a retrograde to begin with. Then I'm going to talk about Mars retrograde, Venus retrograde, and Mercury retrograde. And what I will do is not so much what will actually happen, but how you can use the retrogrades. And I will do that also for the outer planets. And then just a tidbit into the eclipses, and there will be another presentation. I'll talk about that later. And also an invitation to work with me so you can scan out your coming year, because this is going to be a year like no other. It's revolutionary. Let's put it that way, to be modest. Now, the planet appears to move backwards, is what I say here. And that means that when the planet goes retrograde, it looks like it's moving backwards. It's an optical illusion, as far as we know now, or how we see it from here. We look up and then it looks like it's going backward. And that optical illusion, what we see, affects us deeply. A retrograde period offers an opportunity to look back, to see what has been going on and also look more inwards. There is a before and after which is called the shadow period. And the shadow period before the retrograde usually talks about what will come, what we need to look into, what we have to like revisit, rethink, redo. And then the period after is when we sort of clean up and get our ducks in a row to make it easier to move forward with what we have found and worked on during this period. All planets, apart from the sun and the moon, which are not planets, but they were called planets in astrology, all planets move retrograde at one point or the other. It does give this time to pause and reflect, to realign, and the prefix realign, rethink, redo, reinvent, and reconsider, or whatever other that you can find. If you pair that with the planet's unique characteristics and how it affects your life, you will get a feel of where to look into. Where is this retrograde happening? In what house? Because the 12 houses of the zodiac gives you focus on this is where this is happening. This is what's going on. It could be about family, it could be about ancestry, it could be about relationship or your career, your inner world, education, your spiritual life, what is giving you joy and fun, finances. I mean, it's all in the zodiac. And whatever the retrograde is happening, that's the place to look into and see what's going on here. It's also a question of how does it affect your chart. What I just said is different for everyone because it depends on where is your first house. What are the touch points from the first house? So at times they don't affect very much because there's not so much happening in your chart. And at other times it's like, oh my God, why? Or yes, or so. So it can be very, very different. And it can be very different from year to year, retrograde to retrograde. So, but usually there is a pattern that you can see that if you have a certain kind of retrograde, there is a pattern of how does it affect you. So this is what happens, or what it's about when the planet goes backwards, so to speak. I will just introduce the fire signs and the water signs because they will be very important next year when it comes to the retrogrades. The fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, and especially Aries and Leo because of the Mars retrograde. We'll be back with that shortly, but especially Aries, I would say, is the most pivotal and could be also like revolutionary new start for you. It's about initiative, action, being center stage. It's about your vitality, the independence, confidence, enthusiasm. You see, it's like it's movement and it's movement forward in all these three signs. Then when we talk about water, it's almost the opposite. It's emotional, it's intuitive, it's transformational. This is a creative, artistic, and compassionate and psychological realm where the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, helps you move inward and go deep with yourself. So the retrogrades here will be moving from fire into water and then back into fire again. And that's why it's so important to know what is this all about and where is this happening in my chart and how come it's so, as I said, revolutionary, pivotal, what could actually happen here. And I do suggest that you take the time to prepare. So the first planet I'm going to talk about is Mars. And the Mars retrograde starts this week on the 7th. And it will last until February 25th. On January 6th, it moves into Cancer. So it goes from Leo into Cancer. Two very different atmospheres. Leo is like moving forward. It's a fixed sign. It's a lot about me. It's about presentation. It's having fun and joy. And then it goes into Cancer, which is much more like into taking care and family and nurture and coziness and really trying to be at home with yourself and with others. So that energy in itself for any planet is like a big thing. But the thing also with Mars is that Mars is not very comfortable in Cancer. And the third thing is Mars doesn't like to move backwards. Mars wants to move forward. I would say that it's the most forward working planet that we have in the zodiac of all the planets. And now it's going to go retrograde. It only goes retrograde every second year, and it does that for a long time, as you can see, December to February. We're gonna, and then we have the shadow part that we have been in. So if you look into your life and see what has been going on here for a while, and then realize that you're going to deal with this afterward, it's going to take 8 months to deal with this whole long thing. So this is a superbly important part. And I'm not giving the dates here of when there were retrogrades before, but I can say from my own experience that my Mars retrogrades are usually quite challenging, and things slow down immensely, and it can be super frustrating for me. Doesn't mean that that's going to happen for you, but we usually see a pattern of how the Mars retrogrades work for people. For some it's less challenging, and for others it's more challenging. So 3 things to think about when it comes to the Mars retrograde. Rethink action plans. Be more patient. That will be required, because this feeling of I want to move forward that's just not going to be possible. You have to slow down to achieve your goals, and starting new ventures might not be like, yeah, let's do it. It's more like is this even possible? So that is a good thing. You will feel better if you just give yourself time and more patience. Sometimes it can feel hard, especially if you have a lot of fire energy in your chart. Now then we have anger management, because Mars is the god of war, and I will have one presentation that I will introduce that at the end of this one, where I will talk about Mars as your inner warrior, because Mars is the god of war. It is the god of fight, of assertiveness. It's also the god of that is connected with, for instance, surgery, which can be a really good thing, you know. Sometimes we really need surgery. So it's not that it's all bad, but it's something that it penetrates using this spear, a knife, a gun. It can be explosive, it's hot, it's red. So frustration and conflicts can surface. Do what you can to keep a cool head. And also, it's good to keep up physical training, exercise, like running or going to the gym, lifting weights, things that are more taxing on the body. That can really help. It's a muscular sign, if I put it that way. Also, watch for accidents. And by that I mean be extra mindful of physical safety and avoid, if you can, impulsive actions. Again, patience, anger management, practice grounding. I said that in the first presentation, I said it in my second presentation, and I will say it again this time. Practice grounding, especially important for Mars. There is, of course, more that you could say about this, but I'm going to try to keep this at shorter. Otherwise, I can go on forever. So that's the first one, Mars. The second one is Venus, and as you can see, when Mars has moved out of retrograde, Venus comes in, and she goes retrograde about 1.5 year cycles. She will do the same thing. She's going to retrograde in fire. She goes from Aries into Pisces, as do other planets too. And that is why I want this idea of looking into where you're heading and where are you going back, where are you cleaning up things. So Venus, the planet of beauty and love and attraction. When she goes backwards, it's good to avoid major appearance shifts. You can get like, I think I'm going to cut my hair really short. If you have not had short hair in 10 years, it's not a good idea to just go do it. You might really regret it afterwards. Coloring your hair, and also things like if you are considering any kind of surgery, wait until Venus goes direct again, because you might regret it later, or the result might not be so positive. There might be problems with whatever you're doing. And the same goes for renovations and home styling, because she is the ruler of Taurus, which is very physical, and your home and that kind of environment can be deeply affected by the retrograde of Venus. Venus is also about worth and money. It's also about your self-worth, and I talked about that when it came to like how to up your self-esteem. That was a presentation I did before. I do recommend that you watch it. This could be a really good time to reflect on your self-worth. How do you value yourself? How is your self-esteem doing? What can you do to upgrade it? And what can you also do to upgrade your value when it comes to what you offer to the market? Being your own business person as yourself, I am raising my prices. Or if you are employed, perhaps you should ask for a raise, or perhaps actually go for another position, another company even. And that doesn't mean that you should do it during the retrograde, but these are things to consider and think about while Venus is going retrograde. It takes 40 days, and it's interesting because there are, I have not read the Bible, but there are several references to the 40 days, and we know that 40 days of Venus, not that we know, it's just interesting that there is this reference to 40 days in several places in the Bible, while we also have this regular 40-day cycle where Venus goes retrograde, and it's about like thinking, evaluating yourself, your life, what's going on. What can also happen here, because Venus is a lot about attraction and a lot about relationships, love, also friendships, and your relationship with yourselves, that old flames and friends can return. Past lovers or unresolved relationships and those situations may reappear for closure or reconsideration. Perhaps an old friend that you were like, was your bestie for many years, disappeared, gone for 10 years, and then comes back, and you reignite that friendship. That can very well happen during Venus retrograde. The last Venus retrograde was in Leo. I don't know how many people I ran into that I haven't seen in a long time. It was ridiculous. It was like, this is weird, but it was very, very Venusian in its characteristics. Then we have Mercury, and Mercury goes retrograde 3 times, sometimes even 4 times a year. And it will retrograde in fire, because when it retrogrades over a year, it's retrograding in the same sign. And this has already started, because we are in a Mercury retrograde right now. I will not go into every month here, but I will just tell that March 15th to April 7th, it goes from Aries into Pisces. And then in July 18th, it stays in Leo, in fire all the time. And then November 9th to 29th, it goes from Sagittarius into Scorpio, which is a water sign, and then back again. So, as I said, there is something about Aries and Pisces here. And this happens again in, ta-da, March. So March is a very interesting and changeable month. I think that we will all go into a period of reinventing ourselves even. Because when we go from Pisces, which is the last sign that encompasses everything, all the wisdom of the zodiac, and move into a new phase of life. This is a new phase, not only for your personal life, but for everyone's life, for the planet, for what's going on here on Mother Earth. So, Mercury retrograde, fire into water, as I said. One thing that is really important, and that is to double check your communications. And that goes for every retrograde. And because this happens so often, it's just good to know, to look into these 4 aspects that I have used. I haven't taken 3 for all the other signs, but this time with Mercury, I'm talking about, I'm just using 4. There is more for everyone, of course. Double check your communication, because misunderstandings are common, and ensure that you have clarity in your writing and your speaking. And it's a good thing to just wait until you hit send or publish, proofread, and perhaps have someone else help you proofread too, so you can be sure that what you want to say is what you want to say. Sometimes just moving a comma can make all the difference in the world. So take your time with that, give it ample time, because Mercury is the planet of communication, interacting with other people, finding out about facts, and jumping from one place to another, and just so it's not too fast. Review travel plans. Delays and disruptions are common when it comes to Mercury retrograde. Trains, air flights, start early if possible. And I have said here, fix your bicycle or car beforehand. So before the Mercury retrograde, so it's in as good shape as possible. So it doesn't break down, because you should have fixed, the tires or something, but you've been waiting, and then something happens because you did not take care of it beforehand. So do that, and also have backup plans if you're traveling. If you're going by train, make sure you have a book, because you might be delayed, and it's a good thing to read something then. Also, back up data. Avoid technical issues by safeguarding devices, because this is about communication. We're sitting here right now communicating, so it's good if your devices are up to speed, and you have saved what needs to be saved. And also, when you do preparations, prepare to do it without tech. That would not be possible for me here, of course. But if you are going to hold a presentation live and you prepare slides, perhaps that's not going to be possible because of some kind of tech issue, because Mercury is retrograde. So therefore, make sure that you know your presentation, you know what you want to say, and that you can say it without having technical assistance. So you can actually stand there in your own power and tell people, talk to people, be with people with what you have to offer to the world. And last but not least, reflect on past projects. You can revisit and revise rather than start something new. It's a good thing not to start new things. In general, when it comes to the retrogrades, not to start new things, but more looking into and revise and rethink whatever you have been working on and make it even better. Read the fine line at the bottom of a contract if you sign contracts. Read it several times and have someone else read it too if possible. Frequently you hear when people talk about Mercury retrograde, don't sign contracts, don't buy new things, don't do this, don't do that. And life goes on, and Mercury is going retrograde 3 to 4 times a year. So, that's not possible. Just be very observant, and it will be fine. Don't rush into things. Make sure that you can just check out what's going on here. Don't hit send. Don't just sign. Read it, sleep on it, read it again, and you will be perfectly okay. So, but just take the time. And in general, you have probably already noticed that it is something about leaning back somewhat and giving it time, not rushing into things. Even if you're a spontaneous person, even if you have a lot of Martian energy or a lot of Mercurial energy, that you want to do things, and calm down somewhat, if possible. Now, the outer slow planets also have retro movements every year. 2025 is going to be very special because they are moving signs while they go retrograde. Most of them, not Jupiter, but Neptune is moving into Aries, and then it goes back into Pisces, where it has been forever. But the big thing here about both Neptune and Saturn is that they both are finishing off a very long cycle. I think Neptune's cycle is 84, or it was 64, something like that. Decades, forever time, a lifetime. So it has been going around the zodiac, and it's now moving into Aries and then moving back to like clean up what has been going on for 60 years. And Saturn is doing the same, but that is like about 30 years. So those movements are really important to look into and not rush. Just see, this is the last breath of these signs before they move into something completely new, reinventing yourself. I would say that this year, coming year, is a lot about reinventing yourself. From Aries into Pisces, both of them, Neptune and Saturn. And then we have Uranus that goes into Gemini from having been, I think it is 7 years in Taurus. So in September, it moves backwards, first in Gemini, then it moves back into Taurus, which is an earth sign. And this takes a long time. September 2025, it starts the movement, and then not until February 26th, it will start moving forward again. So Uranus is a slow-moving planet. Jupiter will stay in Cancer and will move from the 11th of November to the 11th of March. It will move retrograde within Cancer, which is a water sign. And then I'm going to do a short little thing. I will just introduce the nodes. But they move into Virgo and Pisces, and they do that on the 12th of January. So I'll talk about that later on. Now, if we talk about Neptune and what Neptune stands for, it's the planet of illusions, or let's say dreams, of internal creativity and what can I move out into the world, and how do I see the world, and is that really true, and what's actually going on? That's the planet. So I have written here, reassess escapism. If you have habits of avoidance, like overindulgence in fantasies or in substances or in behavioral patterns, that could be anything from drugs, alcohol, but also going to the gym 3 times a day. I'm not kidding. There are people that do that. And I'm not talking then about professional sports people, because that's different. I mean, if you have something that you do constantly and you can't stop, you just have to do it, you feel anxiety if you don't do it, that's drug abuse. And we have behavioral patterns that function as drug. If you're completely absorbed and the only thing you can think about is money, same thing. Look into what do you think about? How are things going? And since it's long periods, it's not going on all the time, but it is good to just reassess. Do I have behavioral patterns, or do I think about things all the time that it's hard to get out of, and see what that is? Also, explore your creativity. Artistic and imaginative exploration may flourish when you give it time. Allow yourself to be creative. Allow yourself to start a dancing class, for instance, if that is one thing that you have been dreaming about. It doesn't mean that you have to turn into a dancer, but that creative move within you. Music, painting, anything that makes you feel that you pour in yourself into something. This could be an excellent time to start that kind of not behavior. Okay, a word that doesn't want to come. And also heal emotional wounds, because Neptune is the ruler, the co-ruler of Pisces, and Pisces is a very emotional and deep, and can also be not self. Oh, this here's another word. Yeah, forget it. It might come later. I will say it then. So if you have old pains, old wounds, they may resurface during this time, and it's a good time for processing, perhaps, and go to therapy or healing of some sort, retreats, things like that, to process and to get to closure. So that's Neptune retrograde. Saturn retrograde. This is also about reassessing, but your responsibilities. Where in your commitments and obligations, and how is your life structured? To look into that. Is this working? What needs to change? Have I become stuck in a rut? To open up and see, how can I change things? What kind of boundaries do I have? Are they too tight, or are they not tight enough? Also work on consistency, so you can build and persist in areas of life that feel stagnant or where you aren't staying on track. Again, this thing of boundaries. How are my boundaries working for me? Do I put enough boundaries out for others? Is my work life working for me? Are people like walking all over me, or am I too strict? Those things are really good to look at when it comes to the Saturn return. And again, because this is a slow planet, July to November next year, it's not about being there all the time, just being observant. And I would also say that you can all, like, if you want to take screenshots of any of this, please do, to see how can I use it, because this is not until July, in July next year, and you will forget what I just said. Also, face karma, because Saturn is the planet that will reward you if you do what needs to be done. When Saturn turns retrograde, it often brings lessons and insights into the consequences of your past actions. So karma can be, of course, previous lives, but it's also the karma of this life, or it could be like ancestral karma. What have your ancestors done that you actually want to change, because it doesn't work for you anymore, and you want to start something new and go into a new era, and perhaps give something else to your children or to people around you. Uranus goes retrograde. As I said in one of the previous presentations, like, this is the rebel doing what he wants to do, not taking so much into consideration what's going on. Expect the unexpected is what people, astrologers, used to say when it comes to Uranus. Retrograde Uranus encourages adaptability and the examination of surprises in your life. So if you have had encountered surprises beforehand, this is a good time to say, okay, how does this fit into my life? What am I going to do with this? How do I adapt? Do I want to adapt? And do I want this to stay here, or do I want this to move out of the way? Excuse me. So make sure that you don't just become like a victim of, oh, it happened, what to do? It's like, okay, it happened, what to do? Also, reevaluate your personal freedom. Where do you feel restricted or confined in your life? So if there are places where you feel like, I want more, this doesn't really work for me, perhaps the Uranus retrograde can help you to create one of those unexpected, oh, I want this instead. This is important for me. So your personal freedom works for you without, of course, walking across other people. I mean, we have all the planets there, so that they all work together. But this is a good time to see, how is my personal freedom working? Do I need more freedom? And how can I do it? In what way can I implement that? And because of that, also adjust your internal shifts. Use this time to integrate any changes on a personal level, because frequently things happen out there and you can do nothing about that. So make sure that your inner reality will be aligned with what is going on, so you can adjust. Okay, that happened over there. How do I adjust to that? How do I create a good life for me? How do I reevaluate my personal freedoms in accordance to what's happening around me? And last but not least, Jupiter, the giant of our solar system. It's a planet that can make you very optimistic and see the big picture. You want to expand and do big things. So one thing that is good to be aware of when Jupiter goes retrograde is adjust optimism. Beware of overconfidence in financial or professional matters during this period. I would say, actually, overconfidence in anything. Take the time to see, is this... I'm not so fond of the word or the concept of like being realistic, but there is something to it. That, you know, if you're gonna do like a bungee jump, check check that everything is okay, that it the way it's supposed to be, so you don't just, oh, I'm gonna jump and it will work out some way. It's good to have a plan. It's good to be aware of that there are risks, and how can you think it over before you jump into something. Not to suppress optimism, but to be aware that there could be like other things going on. Also focus on your inner growth, because this is a good time for introspection and expand your inner wisdom rather than going out for like external achievements. And like as I said in the previous slide, like what's going on inside is as important when you are adjusting or being optimistic or like growing. How do I expand on the inside? How can my wisdom be acknowledged and given out to the world in a way that is grounded within me, so I feel grounded within myself? And also reevaluate your beliefs, because we change, life changes, people around us change. 2025 is gonna get everything to change. So question your faith, your values, and your philosophical outlook, because you might uncover much deeper truths. I have always been interested in truth ever since I was a small child. And I have noticed through my life that truth changes. There is no absolute truth, especially when it comes to things as, what are my values? What do I value now? The philosophical outlook. And when I say faith, I don't necessarily mean religion, but in general, how do you look at the bigger picture of life, with or without a religion? I argue that everyone is spiritual, even if you don't have a religion, even if you don't believe in a higher power. When you sit and look at the sunset, something happens. If you just sit there quietly and look at the sunset, you are in contact with your spiritual self, no matter religions or belief systems or whatever you want to call it. That spiritual part is what I'm talking about here when I say faith. Now, the nodes. I will not talk about the nodes today because it will take too long time. The nodes will move though from Aries and Libra to Virgo and Pisces. And the eclipse axis will move on January the 12th. and it will stay there for 18 months. And it does. This is yet one of these cycles that it's 18 months and then it moves, and this axis is moving around. And so it takes like, what is it, like 18 years for it to like make one whole round. In March and September, the eclipses will occur in 2025, and I will create a new presentation for 2025, but I will do that in the beginning of the year, somewhere there in the first weeks of 2025 in January, because there's too much information. You won't remember any of this. And I was just thinking, no, we don't need to talk about that. I just want you to know that it happens. And eclipses are oftentimes they change things. Not necessarily like that. Not necessarily the Uranian way. But they can initiate something. And we don't realize that happened until several months later. But that was in that period when and then she moved there and and now I moved to another city. So the effect of that major shift or that major ending might not show up until later, but it will be ignited. And you might not realize until later that, that is what happened. I have seen that several times in my life. So I will talk about that in January. Let's move on. So I've said, I think this is the third time I'm using this image. Practice grounding. This is a year where you will need to know where you're going to place your feet. Sit down, take the time. If you don't have a grounding practice yet, if you don't meditate, this might be the best start now. Or take that walk every day, come rain, come shine, or in the snow. Or something yoga, something that is calming you, and it could be going to the gym. I enjoy going to the gym. If you don't have all these sounds, when people are running on, what's it called, treadmills, because they make too much up. But when it's like quiet early in the morning, that's great for me. I really enjoy that. That's very meditative state. So find places where you can be with yourself and breathe and feel your body, because you will need it. This year is going to be like one great big eclipse, all of it. So it's a year of endings and beginnings, and what is ending for you and what is ignited. Give yourself time to ponder, journaling perhaps. That's also a way of grounding yourself, grounding your thoughts and your emotions. And perhaps, as I said before, it's a good time to find help. If you have gone through therapy before, perhaps revisit, or if you've never done anything like that, perhaps it's a good time to start to get help, because certain ways of growing, we all need help, present company included. We all need someone else to hold our hand when it gets shaky. So what I want to talk a little about now is that I want to invite you to take a closer look at your 2025. What are the cosmic strategies that you can set? And this is what I mean will help you, that you will end up here, feel this way, that you will have an unwavering clarity for the year ahead. Doesn't mean that you will know what to do, but you will understand, you have an image, a picture of, this is the house. This will affect my finances in some way or that, or this will affect perhaps even my relationship. The personal alignments with life rhythms makes it easier. I must say that I find it has been very reassuring, even when this has been very challenging for me, because I have gone through some very challenging years. But just knowing that it's not all me, as my first astrologer said, it makes it less personal. And also I can see, there's an end to this. I just have to hang on. You can harness the power of timing, and that is what I mean with that. Okay, sometimes it's about hanging on, and sometimes that I want a new relationship, and you can say this is a perfect time to actually go out for a date. If you sit home, nothing's going to happen. You will have much deeper connection to your inner self. I mean, it's amazing. You will be able to transform challenges and perhaps even into triumphs. You can have a strategic guidance for your ambitions, goals, and no, don't move here, move there instead. There is timing where the planets can help you out. You will feel more joy and less stress and strengthen your relationships. Know when to move forward and move backwards. Know what's like, okay, I'm just going to keep quiet here and not say this and that because we will only start a quarrel, and that's absolutely unnecessary right now. I mean, things like that. It will be much easier to handle and deal with yourself and with others. So what is included here in this roadmap? Well, we start with a 20-minute call to set the stage for your year ahead. And when I say the 20-minute call, that's not the free call where we will just talk about, is this for you? That's not the call. When you have decided, I want to do this, I want to spend some time on really seeing how can I map out my life, my year, in the best possible way, that's when the 20-minute call comes in. So that's how we start off. And then we follow that with 3 transformative 62-minute sessions where we'll dive deep into your personalized astrology. That is first your chart. Have we never worked together before? We will spend the first time with your chart, your solar return, and your perfections. And then we'll look at 6 months in the 2 different sessions. I don't use a timer. It's not like 60 minutes like this, which both coaches, astrologers, therapists, healers use. I stopped that many years ago. I work in process. But it will be about 60 to 90 minutes, something like that. Usually people can't handle more. And then between sessions, you will commit to do some empowering homework. I will give you homework so you can guide your reflection action. So it's not like we meet and then you just put it aside and say, okay, no, it's up to Stella. No, this is up to you. This is your process. And I will guide you and I will give you exercises that I think this will probably be good for you. This could be some emotional psychology techniques, like something about EFT, something about journaling. So we'll see what it is. But it's not just 3 sessions and that's it. It's immersing yourself for a month into this process of how to handle and welcoming all the amazing changes that will happen in 2025. And then you will get 3 downloadable sessions. You will get the recording right away. And I will create a beautiful crafted PDF with images of about 20, perhaps even more, perhaps a little less, but 20 horoscopes from our work together. So it's not, I'm not going to sit there and say, okay, give me your money. This is really work. So I will look into all your lunar returns. That doesn't say much if you're not into astrology, but I will look into all of that, and you will have images of that and recordings of that, so you can refer back to it. And I have checked with clients before. So, did you use it? Yes, it's been very useful. So it's very useful to know that this is your celestial roadmap for 2025. So that's everything you need to plan, align, and thrive. And I want to encourage you to take advantage of it this month, 2024, because my current price for this enormous, fantabulous, I love my own program, is $9.97 US dollars. But I will raise my prices. As I said, I'm raising my prices on January 1st, which has to do with how I look at me and my values and how my chart is speaking to me. So book your free call. This doesn't cost anything. It's at stellascott.com/Cosmic Strategies 2025. That's a free call. We'll just see, is this for you? You need to have your exact birth time to the minute. Otherwise, this cannot be done. You can also use, of course, the QR code to get there. So this is my invitation for taking care of and taking advantage of the price, but also taking advantage of the knowledge of 2025 and how it will affect you in your chart. So this will give you a life lived with purpose and intention. This isn't just about planning for a year, it's creating a life that feels meaningful and aligned with your core, how you came here to be. You will wake up every day knowing you are living your truth, embracing your power, and moving towards your dreams. This year, 2025, opens up completely new arenas